The longer the so-called SVO lasts, the sadder the Russian ultra-patriots become. Military and Z-blogger Yuriy Yevich advised Russians not to sign contracts with the Russian Defense Ministry as this is certain death. He made frank statements in an interview with the wife of Russian security officer Igor Strelkov. Yevich called on Russians not to sign contracts with the Russian army as they are in essence a new form of slavery. Under no circumstances should you go to the Ministry of Defense because firstly, it's a lifetime contract. Let's be realistic. What does contract until the end of the SVO mean? Who sees this end? The Z-blogger said. He also voiced the second fantastic feature of the Russian army, the commanders' disregard for the lives of their own soldiers. He recalled the sensational story of a famous drone operator with the call sign Goodwin, whom the commander nullified by sending him on a meat assault. Yevich stressed that soldiers now have very little chance of survival due to the massive presence of drones throughout the entire battle zone. According to him, the wounded are almost never evacuated. Nobody wants to bother with evacuation here. The enemy's dominance in reconnaissance and drones means that it is impossible to get within 15 kilometers of the front. They will be discovered by reconnaissance drones and dispersed either by attack drones or mortars and artillery. The only option is to carry out the wounded and dead in your arms, said the Z-blogger. Earlier, Dialogue.ua reported that Z-patriot Yevich was impressed by the work of the Ukrainian armed forces with drones. Yevich was very impressed by the number and quality of drones used by the Ukrainian army. The enemy has an update. The work of drones has reached a completely new level. They now have thousands of these drones lying around in boxes like dirt. Literally. The question of saving UAVs is basically out of the question for them. They spend up to 5 attack drones per infantryman and 15 to 20 on each unit of our equipment. They have an international project. The whole world is churning out drones for them. The whole world is sending them money. And what about us? Volunteers somewhere bought something at an exorbitant price in China. I will not say what the state is doing. Hugging and crying is not the word, said the Z-patriot. He also complained about the poor intelligence and communications of the Russian occupation army.
Israeli airstrikes Saturday killed at least 11 people and injured dozens in central Beirut, as diplomats scrambled to broker a ceasefire. Lebanon's civil defense said the death toll was provisional as emergency responders were still digging through the rubble looking for survivors. The strikes were the fourth on the Lebanese capital in less than a week. The escalation comes after U.S. envoy Amos Hochstein traveled to the region this week in an attempt to broker a ceasefire deal to end the more than 13 months of fighting between Israel and Hezbollah, which has erupted into full-on war in the past 2 months. Israeli bombardment has killed more than 3,500 people in Lebanon and wounded more than 15,000, according to the Lebanese Health Ministry. It has displaced about 1.2 million, or a quarter of Lebanon's population. On the Israeli side, about 90 soldiers and nearly 50 civilians have been killed by rockets, drones and missiles in northern Israel and in fighting in Lebanon. The strikes occurred at 4 a.m. local time, destroying an 8-story building and leaving a crater in the ground. The strikes came a day after heavy bombardment of Beirut's southern suburbs and as heavy ground fighting between Israeli forces and Hezbollah militants continues in southern Lebanon, with Israeli troops pushing farther from the border. Israel's military did not issue a warning for residents to evacuate prior to the strikes in central Beirut. The army said in a statement Saturday that over the past day it had conducted intelligence-based strikes on Hezbollah targets in Dahia, a Hezbollah stronghold in Beirut's southern suburbs, including on several command centers and weapons storage facilities. The army said prior to the strikes it issued advance warnings to civilians in the area. The war began when Hamas-led militants stormed into southern Israel on October 7, 2023, killing some 1,200 people, mostly civilians, and abducting another 250.